question of if it ends catastrophically instead of with a whimper, what's the most likely thing? Well, I'm really scared of, we're doing a little better, but we still have thousands of nuclear weapons pointed at us, and the Russians pointed at us, and vice versa, for reasons. I mean, you talk about somebody, I think it was a famous demographer, and I can't remember who it was, I think it was Kingsley Davis, said that we're a species known for its insane notions and behavior. And when I think about insane behavior, there are reasons for having international disputes and so on, but why the Russians and the United States insist on maintaining weapon systems that will destroy the entire world if we have a big enough disagreement is absolutely beyond me. Whereas the chance of pestilence just goes up with population numbers, and the more people you have hungry and immune compromised makes a better chance. All of our infectious diseases come from other animals that have jumped into the human population. The bigger the population, the better chance jump in, the better chance of becoming endemic because of the, for instance, you have to have a city of somewhere between 50 and 500,000 people to maintain measles. Otherwise, it dies out. That is, people get it, and they either die or become immune, and eventually the disease disappears. You got to have a big population for that, and we have very rapid transit systems, so that's scary. And the famine thing, look, for instance, at the Himalayan water tower, the ice and snow of the Himalayas and the Tibetan plateau. It feeds about 1.6 billion nuclearly armed people at the moment who hate each other. And the crops, the standard crops that are grown in those countries, the wheat and the rice, are now being grown at very close to their upper temperature limit. That doesn't present a friendly picture for agriculture, particularly when around the world two things are happening. One is, for the next millennium at least, we're going to see rainfall patterns shifting, which means we're going to have to continuously change our water handling infrastructure. And what was the second thing? There was something equally dismal on the well, there's people. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand, for example, that our potatoes are grown about 40%. Somebody calculated with oil. In other words, oil plays a huge role in our agriculture. Oh, the other thing that's happening right in California probably, and that is we're losing snowpack, and this means that water that used to be stored as snow and then would run down the rivers during the growing season comes down as rain and runs down the river during the cold season, where it just goes out to sea and isn't usable for agriculture. So the agricultural situation is marginal as well, and it's anybody's guess where these things are going. And I'm always interested in the fat cats who say, well, it'll be all right. Well, they're not already on the margin. They don't know. Those of you who've traveled in third world countries will have more personalized the situation of people there. One of the problems, Gretchen Daly and I did a lot of field work in Costa Rica, which is not really third world. It's coming along in many ways. It treats its women in some ways better than the U.S. and so on. They're really a great country, but we were way away from the metropolis, down virtually on the Nicaraguan border. And one of our problems was we would set up butterfly or bird watching stations in various people's yards and become friendly with the local campesinos. And then we'd see that the kids were starving, were hungry. And the biggest problem we had was not having the money to buy them food. It was finding a way to buy them food or give them something that was fungible, because they were they felt their honor was at stake. They should be able to feed themselves, so you couldn't bring them a sack of rice. But you could bring them something that they could trade or sell, or something that looked like some nuts, like some fancy nuts or something that would be good nutritionally. And that's in a pretty good country. When you realize there's a couple, maybe 2 billion people in that shape or worse, it's just heartrending.
Yeah, I just have a very quick question. When are you running for president?
When I lose my mind. And I know it's almost gone already. I have to say, we were all enormously thrilled, our gang, when John Holdren was made the president's science advisor and head of OSTP, and when Jane Lubchenco was made head of NOAA. And watching what they've had to go through, and the fact that it is still the idiot political side that controls what happens in the country and the world, is just, to any scientist, so scary. Because I can tell you, knowing John and Jane very, very well, you will never, in the history of the United States, get anybody who is distinctly superior to them in their two positions. In other words, that's as good as you're ever going to get. And I don't think they'll last through the Palin administration. You think that's a quick question?
Yeah. And on what data do you base the population of 140 million as optimum for the U.S.?
Okay. No, let me answer the first one. The second one first, because that's easy. I don't think 140 is optimum. I think actually somewhat below that would be optimum. But I can tell you how we did the calculations, but they're tough. But the point is, I say that's the largest number anybody's come up with, and that is to have the same number to supply troops if we had to fight the Second World War again. In other words, that was the time when it was clear that our manpower, if you'll excuse the expression, was stressed. That's when we had to bring in extra agricultural, or we felt we had to bring in extra agricultural labor from Mexico and so on. So but I've never heard anybody give an argument for 200 or 300 or 400 million people living at the same time in the United States.